Hello everybody, my name is Daniel Hill and welcome to the fourth episode of Recovering from ME, Chronic Fatigue Syndrome, Fibromyalgia. You may be watching this if you have a serious disease of another kind, and if you are afraid of spiders, then look away now, and I will explain why I am showing this at the end of these next couple of videos. I might do 3 videos actually.
There we are. Now you can see the beauty of them. Okay, take care. Bye bye guys, thanks for coming today. How you feeling now?
Feel fine, feel really good, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm not sure about him moving around.
No, well that comes.
That's amazing.
That comes. You don't want to force yourself too fast. That will come
And I've
gradually.
started to develop quite a lot of compassion for the,
Yeah.
for the spider, which I didn't before. I just wanted to splat them.
That's it, yeah. But now you're becoming more positive inside. That will all lead on. That will lead on. You'll be able to cope with movement and all the rest of it then.
Okay.
There we go. Well done.
Thank you.
That's lovely. There we are. That's lovely. There we go.
Hello, my name is Daniel Hill, and I'm in my bath with a house spider. So I was terrified of spiders. I had a phobia of spiders I went to see a clinical psychologist on the National Health Service, the NHS, in 1991, because my phobia was so bad of these things. And I'm not sure if you can see this. It's going all the way down to the plug. I'm going to be really gentle with it, so those that are really afraid of that I'm going to splat it, or you do move fast, down and up and down and up and down and up and down. So I was terrified of these things. And back. And I had such a chronic phobia of them. It was. I had to stand on a chair. I'm not phobic of these things anymore. It was a necessity to overcome my fear of these things. If I was going to have any integrity in doing my job and be able to, prove that these techniques and everything that I do really works, because I still had a fear of them. And you don't get in a bath with a spider if you're afraid of them. So, I love doing what I do. I love doing my job. I love helping people overcome these irrational fears. The only fears that we're actually born with are the fear of heights and the fear of loud noises. So, hey, you giving me high fives? Hi. What about that? What about running over my finger? Should we go this way? Can you do it? Can you do a 180? You're gonna do that. How about running over my finger with your 8 legs? Hey! High five! We're touching. Hi! I did that with a tarantula. That was with one of your cousins.
So if you've just watched all that and thought, well, what's that got to do with chronic fatigue recovery? You will be able to go back and see in one of the previous 3 hour-long videos that I did on it, this is the 4th one, I said in a book that was actually about multiple sclerosis recovery, MS recovery, I'd written down all the outcomes that I wished to experience. So, and that was within chronic fatigue syndrome recovery. But then I also had found, I'd forgotten about this, I'd written that in 2006 when I'd done the book that these were all things that I wished to overcome as well. So, and one of the big things was house spiders, because I'm still really afraid of them. By August 2006, 3 months later, I booked myself onto a tarantula holding course, and then literally got into the bath with a spider. So here is my spider, and I've actually been, can you see it in there? I've actually been collecting insects for it to keep it alive, and I will release it today. And it was a huge thing for me to be able to overcome. But the thing is, with all illness, it's about overcoming dis-ease, unease. Hyphenate the word disease, dis-ease, unease. So this is why you can use all of these techniques when you're working on your mind. And I go on to say later in this video, about 80% is psychology. And this is the hour that I recorded, and it's taken me a long time to do. These videos, I have to watch them all the way through and record them. I mean, each video probably takes me 3 to 4 hours to do for 1 hour. And this one has taken even longer, because when I completed it, I realized that I'd got the house spider, and they basically had a client coming to see me who was afraid of house spiders, and it was just so that I caught this house spider that was in my house, and then began to feed it flies. And while I was doing that, I just thought, hey, I could use this with the other video, so I thought I'll have to just put this on, tag this onto the front of the other video. If this interests you enough, then you can go back to the previous 3 videos that I did, and in one of them, and I can't remember which one it is, but I quote the book The Healing Code by a man called Dermot O'Connor, who healed himself with multiple sclerosis, and I used that when I was studying NLP, and I was down in London, and I was becoming a clinical hypnotherapist, life coach, Enneagram mentor, and EFT practitioner. And I now call myself EFT NLP life coach. I was EFT NLP coach. I don't think people fully understood what that was. Basically, I help people to rewire their brains. So I'm an alternative to a psychotherapist and a counsellor. And I have clients all over the world. See them locally as well and nationally. But most of my work, about 70% of my work now, is online through Skype, and now also through FaceTime and WhatsApp. So I've got, I make videos, expand my horizons. Anyway, enjoy the rest of this video. Hello everybody, and welcome to the 4th video in the series of 10 videos that I'm doing on ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, and fibromyalgia recovery. And you might also be interested, with any disease, to watch these videos, any serious disease, because this all correlates. The reason I've had a break from my last video, which I believe was in October, so that's November, December, January, February, March, April, May, so 7 months. I took on quite a lot of chronic fatigue clients after I started making the videos, and I have a limit to the amount of clients that I take on with C.F.S, autoimmune disease. I like to see a varied amount of clients. Each client group have different issues, and I've made a really good GP. So I don't just want to do one field and just treat anxiety, just treat bipolar, just treat multiple sclerosis, just treat cancer. I look at every illness or every condition, even if it's just plain old anxiety that someone's coming because they've got, they literally just got some anxiety because they're a new mother, or a guy's taken on a new job, he's got no health conditions at all, but he's just anxious. Those kind of clients are really quite easy. When you're working with serious disease, there is always an expectation of, am I improved? Have I got better? And there's this symptom checking thing that goes on. Plus, you also get the tendency of, I've got another question. So you dedicate an hour for a session, and you'll always get to the end pretty much, and people will say, particularly if they've got chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia, ME, it's that there's so much anxiety running. There's so much head-based questioning. I know because I had it myself, and I was a I'm sure I was a kind of a nightmare client for Alex Howard, and he took me under his wing. He was the author of Why Me. It was a recovery book about recovery from chronic fatigue syndrome. He co-created the Lightning Process with Phil Parker, except Phil Parker was taking all the money, so he went off and started his own clinic, and that's the Optimum Health Clinic in. It wasn't Harley Street, they've moved now, but that was down in London, and I went down in 2006 for treatment for 3 sessions personally with him, and then I went on and did the course. Immediately, I'd managed to work part-time. I'd got myself better without any of the sort of real psychological techniques, other than just counselling, and I had 4 years of counselling. And literally 18 months before, I'd been hospitalised before I went down to see him and went with the clinic. And I was still managing to work part-time I was nearly 32 when I saw him. And age 30, I was hospitalised for a month. And I came out from hospital and nearly I was almost successful in taking my life. Because I had done counselling for 4 years, and I thought, well, that's it. The counsellor didn't even want to see me anymore after that. Not her fault. She was being very real, and she felt she couldn't help me anymore because I was just suffering with fear. Well, incredible fear. And the fear was so bad, as is with all autoimmune disease and pretty much almost all serious disease, although anger, resentment, bitterness are sometimes wrapped in with that, and they are higher than fear. But if you look at disease, that is a disease. Now, I don't want to repeat myself because I've got 3 hours worth of footage out there about chronic fatigue syndrome recovery. So I took on quite a lot of clients, and it overwhelmed me to some extent. What really overwhelmed me was I had a schizophrenic stalker for 15 months. She just became massively obsessed with me, and that, on top of dealing with this work, which is very emotionally draining at times, you must get a balance. If you ever think about doing this work, you've got to get a balance. Going to the police was the obvious thing because, I asked her to stop, and then I broke contact, and she was relentless and kept it up. And towards the end of the latter bit of last year, my health began to suffer. Now, I didn't get chronic fatigue syndrome at the point that I'm bedridden and I can't do anything, but my energy did become low. I started to get quite a lot of anxiety because I just couldn't resolve this, and I thought, this person's never going to go away, and they were asking to be buried with me. If they didn't, they were convinced we were getting married. And I'd never met this person. This was just an online session in this country. The going down the police route wasn't doing anything. So I eventually looked to mental health and researched that as much as possible, and liaised and became highly flexible in my approach to get my outcome. Now, there was no difference in manifesting the outcome with that. The outcome was resolution, peace, empowerment. I didn't want their suicide on my hands, and I didn't want them killing me, I didn't want them harming me, I didn't want them physically stalking me outside. So I think anybody who's got an illness or chronic fatigue syndrome would probably go, wow, I wouldn't like that either. Well, I had a stalker when I was a child, when I was 15, so it triggered some deep stuff. Now, I'd done a lot of healing on that over the years, knowing that it was one of the triggers when I picked up the Epstein-Barr virus in order that manifested into chronic fatigue syndrome. But we do work on these deep issues, and then we are triggered sometimes by life. So it brought up that feeling of being stalked, and I was stalked by a paedophile when I was younger, and I also took over the newspaper round of a paper boy who was abducted and murdered. And so that was age 13, and developed a speech impediment. There was an awful lot of fear. It was a very frightening home. I didn't feel loved by my parents. The typical dysfunctional family that is the hotbed for breeding dis-ease. I've got a $127 book which is on my shelf over there. No, it's not on there. Where is it? It's down here. Which I have. I've read out the first. I can't remember if it was the first or the second video, but basically written by highly evolved Enneagram Type 5. which has every single illness known to humankind and the message of the body, what's going on at a deep subconscious level. It was something for me to clear and something for me to work on, and in order for me to get my outcome of joy and love and peace, I was quite happy with my client caseload that I was dealing with, and I didn't feel the need to upload another video. This became something to put on the back shelf. I did other videos, and I was doing a lot of walking, which is also incredibly meditative and was something that was really helpful. I had a flare-up of iritis that I hadn't had for years. Literally because I didn't like what I was seeing, or the fear of seeing this relentless stalker that through blocking that individual on social media, by my phone, I was still being woken at 2 o'clock in the morning because I didn't realise that they could actually leave voicemails. My phone now turns off at night unless it's friends and family who were to call me an emergency. There are all different types of things, and actually it was the most amazing experience because it's gifted me another level of confidence. Schizophrenic won't really realise that they're schizophrenic. And I've seen a couple of thousand clients, and I looked into schizophrenia, and as much as there's one person in every 1,000, I believe, who is schizophrenic, or at least on the threshold to becoming schizophrenic with the potential to do so. And really, schizophrenia is the unconscious, is mind's way, from what I understand now, of being able to deal with all of the trauma and all of the stuff that's happened to you. And you cross threshold, and the mind feels it's the safest way to be able to deal with what's gone on in the past, to come up with a fantasy and to believe that the fantasy is real. And so this individual was calling me in the middle of the night, believing I'm telepathically communicating to her, and why am I not at the hotel with her? You know, it was really bizarre, and it was scary. And I was using all these techniques, using everything available, but it was like being in the cinema and someone kicking the back of your chair, and after a while you just like it hits you to the point where you just, I can't take this anymore. You know, how much, and going to the police just wasn't resolving it, because they were going around and she was in denial, and then she'd just carry on again a few days later. So where I am, I haven't had any contact or anything for quite a while, and I believe an early psychosis intervention team went around and did what they did, and I haven't heard anything ever since, and I've left it all to life, and I don't wish that person any bad energy, but equally I don't wish to ever hear from them again in the rest of my life. But it certainly taught me to become even more resourceful at getting an outcome. I don't think, it doesn't matter what personality type you are, it's really horrible. It's just something that's not nice at all. And everybody deserves peace and privacy. And it was something that was just, I couldn't see an end to it. I love doing what I do. I mean, I totally love it. It's a beautiful thing to be able to help people to help themselves, and to encourage people to empower themselves, and to coach people to coach themselves. And I know it works because I've done the impossible. I'm not being egoic here. You know, it took years. It took a huge amount of patience, persistence, and tenacity, and perseverance. But it is possible. My uncle, who told me when I had iritis, when I first developed it when I was 30, that I'd have that for life, is the Enneagram type 6 with a 5 wing, which is what my personality type is on the Enneagram. But he hasn't used the Enneagram at all to evolve, which I have religiously, literally, to the point that I've really gone into this place of holy faith, and even seeing the schizophrenic stalker individual. And the whole case with that was actually there, something that has strengthened me. Because I had to go within, I had to keep coming up with the resources. I made a way. I was going to say I forced a way. No, I didn't force it, but I made a way. I was told by the police, no, don't get in contact with mental health. But they weren't really taking it seriously. And it's no disregard to them, but my life wasn't in danger as far as they're concerned. And they've got other fish to fry. There's other more important things to do. So is that in relation to chronic fatigue syndrome? Well, yes, because my energy was compromised, my immune system was compromised. So it wasn't a knock, but in effect it was a blip. And those blips that you have, which I regularly had on the journey to transformation and healing, you'd always learn something. You'd always learn something that you're not being flexible enough. You're still regimented into operating in the world in a certain way. And you can't do that with serious disease because you have to learn to be. You have to learn to relax and have to learn to let go and let life. Religious people would say let go and let God. But it's giving over to the vastness of the universe and the intelligence of the universe. And when I was Christian originally, and then I was Buddhist, and then Taoist, and then I was sort of more spiritual without anything. But when I got into the Enneagram, which is one of the tools that I help people, that's why I call myself an Enneagram mentor. I help people to become the really healthy version of their Enneagram type, which when you're in that place, your chance for having dis-ease at the same time is vastly reduced. So can you see the sacred geometry of the Enneagram symbol there? Let me get my head out of the way so it might focus on that. Then that was proof to me enough when I've really studied the Enneagram intently that there's an intelligence, and I don't know what that intelligence is, and I love what Taoists say, which is the Tao is the Tao that cannot be named. So God is a far too misused word, but it's an intelligence that pervades all things. You, I, this internet, this computer. How am I speaking to thousands of people? I'm just looking at I don't know what this is. I don't even know how to create a computer or how to do this. It's trusting in something else other than this. And this mind doesn't really want to let go with serious disease. It doesn't feel it's got the resources. It's very limited in its thinking. And you have to learn to become flexible in your approach to get your outcome. Whether that's losing weight, whether that is giving up drug addiction to something, whether that is making more money, getting your business to become profitable, in order to be able to have the most amazing, wonderful relationship. These are all states of consciousness. These are all ways of being. And so psychology is 80% of all that stuff. You've got to do the 20%, like you need to know how to run a business, you need to know how to do things, and in a relationship, you need to be doing certain things, but it's 80% mindset, it's 80% beliefs, it's 80% peace. And if you're coming more from that place, you'll manifest really good things. On my screensaver on my old PC, I've had this iMac here since 2011. So it's a long time since I've had that, but I saved it as a screenshot, and it said, success is not something that you chase after. Success is something you attract by the person that you become. And what I learned was the same can be said for everything else. Health, and this is about recovering from ME. Well, forget about recovering from ME. I know that sounds a bit ridiculous, but focus on how to be the most healthy individual that you can be. And regarding your mindset, focus on how peaceful can I be. Success is not something you chase after. Success is something that you attract by the person you become. Health is not something you chase after. Health is something you attract by the person you become. Wealth is not something that you chase after. Wealth is something you attract by the person you become. Love is not something you chase after. Love is something you attract by the person you become. And peace is not something you chase after. Peace is something you attract by the person you become. It all starts within. Everything starts within. Often illness is the most amazing opportunity to heed the message, literally, as this book says. I'll refer back to it. Keep thinking about what's going on. Symptoms are just messages, that way around, messages from your body saying, hey, I'm out of balance. Can you get me into balance, please? So it requires your attention. It requires you to take heed of the call, of the message. and shooting the messenger and trying to ignore it is not the way to go, because the message will still attempt to be getting through to you. Okay, so we're going to go on to the little note that I made literally for session 4, which was what works / what doesn't. How the mental is 80%. Okay, I didn't even know that I'd put that down, and I've just talked about that. I remember when I was really ill, if I just listened to my uncle I would have still been having iritis, because I wouldn't have changed my psychology. I wouldn't have ventured anything further than counselling, which is all that he did, counselling and psychotherapy. Now, this is why I immersed myself in all of these tools and looked at creating the life that I wish to be living every day. In fact, even there's something on a Sunday that comes up on my phone that comes at 9:30 every Sunday, and it says, design the life you would love to be living. And of course I'm constantly doing that, but it reminds me, are you living the life that you wish to be living? So it's a reminder each week just to make those little changes, because it is all about the little changes. When we're really poorly, we often want the big change. You know, I just want this big shift because I'm sick of being where I am. But you can't take that big step with ME. It might feel like a big step to start sessions with me, for example, or it might feel a big step to cut out chocolate or something like that that's not going to be good for you. Or to leave a dysfunctional relationship, or maybe to start a relationship, or to leave home because it's so dysfunctional. I remember one of the girls at the Optimum Health Clinic ended up leaving her dysfunctional family, even though she was wheelchair bound, because she had to get away from her parents and lived about 200 or 300 miles away from them. And she started to get better when she'd got distance from them. Took a while, but she did, and she's now married now, and I think they've had a girl. Best of luck and lots of love to Lois, who don't speak anymore, but she was a part of my life 10 years ago, and you know, if it wasn't for meeting her and all these other people that recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome, you know, you would just be this lone person thinking that, you know, it was impossible. So there were lots of us together, and I don't really speak to any of them. I spoke to one person actually, who I met at the clinic recently, but unfortunately she was run over by a bus. And it's really affected her leg, and that sent her into another. She'd recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome, but she was now going on another healing journey, and you know, and so we haven't been in contact so much. That's partly because she hasn't wanted to be. But again, Renu, I send you lots of love too. So okay, so I remember speaking to my uncle and writing down 100 of my fears. It was like an A4 piece of paper, and there's 25 lines, and I wrote down every single fear on both sides of the paper and did another page on, so it was on 2 sides. So it was 100 fears, and each one of these was an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Massive, absolutely massive. So there wasn't one technique that helped me to bust through every single one of those fears. I'd often do something like EFT, which is what I use with clients, and I encourage them to use it in between sessions. I also should say I give people about £200 worth of, which is, if you're in America, that's $250 worth to $300 worth of downloads of extra material that you use in between sessions. But there wasn't one tool that I was using that suddenly wiped out all of that. It was a slow progress into feeling more sane, feeling more rational, feeling more calm. But it was a bit of snakes and ladders. Sometimes, you know, there's the tendency to push forward all the time because you're so desperate, you're so ill, you see your life passing by, and it's awful, but equally, you can't push your way to recovery. It just doesn't work. I mean, I'm working with someone right now who's got one of the fastest growing businesses in the Midlands, and she comes twice a week. She doesn't have ME, she just has chronic anxiety. And she doesn't have any fatigue problems whatsoever, really. But you know, you can't push beyond this. You have to work with your inner chimp. This is the part of the you that feels totally unresourceful, that feels terribly afraid, that feels angry, sad, upset, and wants you to have a good life, but it equally is not really that prepared to go beyond its present level of comfort zones. Then you have another part of you that really goes, you know what? I don't want that chimp in my life. You know, that chimp is just giving me hell. I want to shoot the chimp. I want to get rid of the chimp. I want to give the chimp away. And it's, well, hang on, the chimp's always going to be there. And I said in another video recently that I work with some multi-millionaires. I've got my business to the place where I've got that many video views now, got that much of a following, and I've worked with enough people. I slowly worked my way up as I put my rates up, that I started to develop a greater threshold of client. Originally I started seeing people for about £20 or £30 a session, free to begin with, and it was like £20 or £30 a session. And now effectively I'm on £100 a session, which is about $130, $140. And my 5-session package is $397 with the 5% PayPal. That's £416.85 if you're outside of the UK. And working with those phenomenally successful individuals has been really, really eye-opening for me, because they're exactly the same as you and I, except they just have an extra nought on the end of their income, maybe a couple of noughts on the end, or maybe if you've got no income, they have a very, very nice income. And some of them are self-made, multimillionaires, others are heads of organisations, and they're on a very pretty packet, so they have a very good life. So money is not an option. So coming to see me twice a week is just easy. Not everybody does that. Some people come once a week, some people come fortnightly. When I'm working with clients with ME, I suggest, it depends on the money issue, but coming once every 2, 3, 4 weeks, it's okay if you go to every 2 to 3 months. But if you start getting a little bit longer than that, you're starting to sort of lose momentum and lose focus. But it's all down to money at the end of the day, and it's how much you value these sessions. I remember when I was getting better, I was focusing totally on getting better, and I never really earned more than about 10, 11, 12,000 a year, which is not a lot of money in this country. And I could only work part-time. I ended up cleaning windows. I think I've said that in other videos, partly because I could charge about £20 an hour. This was like even 10 years ago, which was a lot of money. But, it was risky. I could only do it about 10 to 12 hours of that a week. And I always used to put at least a third of what I earned away. I lived incredibly frugally, going right down to food and basic food, even though it was good food, but it was still basic food. Couldn't afford organic. Every piece of my furniture was free or very low cost, being second hand. I think I said before, I bought a car for effectively £12.50 that I did 20,000 miles in. That's like $20, and I did 20,000 miles in this car for $20. And then I bought my grandmother's car for, it was about £1,600. I've economised, and I've still got that to this day, even though I don't need to anymore. But I always used that third of the money for therapy and coaching. I just made sure that it was an absolute cert. I had to recover. And that was more important than a girlfriend, a relationship. It was more important than having a nice car, having nice things, clothes, basics, all the rest of it. It was to, first of all, to recover, because I was either going to, I think I've said before, I was either going to recover or I was going to kill myself. That's the psychology that I was in. I was not prepared to live the rest of my life ill, compromised. No way. And I think I've said also before that, that you've got to be careful with that mindset. That that means that you're either it's nothing or everything. Well, there is a compromise, and it's that you live with the condition whilst you are doing self-improvement, and accepting where you are and accepting the experience that you're going through. It's just an experience, and everything is transitory. Everything passes. There was once a time when you couldn't walk or talk, and now look where you are. So. Let's go back to this. So what works, what doesn't work? What works? So some of the things that I did were, I had counselling to begin with, and eventually 12 years ago I went down the Optimal Health Clinic and started studying NLP and doing coaching and having that, and then doing that myself. So that's certainly a massive, massive, massive part. 80% is psychology. So some of the other stuff that was important and is still important to this day was, one of the simple things that I did was I cut out drinking tap water. So that is a Brita water filter. It's still not the best thing in the world, but it's going to cut out chlorine, and anything that you can do to help you. If you're running all these thought patterns and your belief systems are so limited, which they always are when you're running autoimmune disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, your tolerance for being able to handle the toxins of life, which are in foods, which are in products, which are even in tap water, just being able to filter out the chlorine and some of the other stuff. I just felt better for putting that in my body. Then I also had mineral water. Now, this is something else that I have. I wouldn't necessarily recommend sparkling, but I'm much more well these days, to the point that I'm in the best health of my life. And it's nice summer's day. Well, I fancy some lemonade, but I'm not going to have the lemonade with like other people have. I'm certainly going to have diet lemonade, which is disgusting and awful. And that, if you're drinking that kind of stuff, avoid diet anything. It's no good for even the most healthy people. There's links with brain cancer and all different types of stuff with that stuff. That kind of thing was from when they developed the atom bomb, I think. What the residue that was left, the white powder, the residue, got on this person's hand, and they licked it and whatever. And it was sweet, 1,000 times sweet. So it comes from nuclear stuff. I don't know. Don't do that. Sugar also. Sugar's really going to drain your energy badly in a big way. Wheat will, dairy will. Even if you haven't really got a massive intolerance to it, it's not going to be so good. So this is my lemonade. Now, could I have bought an organic lemon? Yes, I could have done. I haven't. This is just the stuff that goes on pancakes and all the rest of it. But I put a little bit of this. Sometimes I get a wine glass if I'm going to do it, treat myself. Or sometimes I'll have a pint glass. But you just have a bit of the natural fizzy water, okay? So that's sparkling mineral water from the heart of Staffordshire, from Chase Spring, it says. Put the right top on it. These are all the little things. I used to say, do anything that's which is going to improve your life by 2%. So, is this going to make me better? Well, no, but it's certainly, I'm not going to be putting nasties in my body. So what do I put in there? 10, 15, 20 drops, and that's my lemonade. Now, it just tastes of fizzy lemon water. But I've got used to it. And it's very refreshing. It's 0 calorie. And, okay, there are bubbles in it. And but, just drinking filtered tap water or even bottled water all of the time, it gets a bit boring. I've got to the place where I even enjoy a little bit of organic red wine some evenings. But no more than 1 or 2 small glasses, and I don't really do that more than about twice a week. Keep it in the wrong top on. But it's one of the things that you can do. But I don't really like alcohol that much because I had to cut alcohol out totally as well. But it's just something that I do. There's also I really like the story of, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but Stanatas Moriatis, who was from Icaria or Caria, one or the other, I can't remember. It's an island off Greece, which I think is actually near Cyprus. But he lived to 105 years old. He was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer at 55, and he was still alive at 105. He went back home to live out the rest of his months, which the doctor in America said he was going to die, and he just drank wine, which would have been organic red wine, and sat out in the sun. And then started doing a bit of exercise, and hey-ho, he recovered. So there is a lot of evidence to say a little bit of red wine is good for your heart. And if you're running a lot of anxiety, it will relax you, but I think it's cutting out alcohol, certainly when you're really poorly, is something really good that you could do. Okay, let's work throughout my little thing here. What's this? This is rose water. So, you get those, I couldn't stand, even this day, if I go to the gym and someone's there with their Sure aftershave, Sure deodorant, whatever, breathing all that stuff in, like something like that years ago, I would have a massive reaction to the fact that, you know, you're breathing all these toxins. Well, rose water, oh, fantastic. So if you've been to the toilet and it's a bit smelly, rose water is perfect, really good. Also, just for raising the vibration of a room, every time I have a client in here, a physical client in public, about 30% of my clients are in person, 70% of my work's now online. I will spray, I usually spray the top of these plants. Oh, my peace lily, see my peace lily having some babies. Yeah, sprouting. So I'll spray some of that, spray it in the room. I spray it before and after a client's here. It just helps to raise the vibration of the place because they're coming with issues, and it's something that I feel helps with the frequency. It also smells nice, and it's not going to be harmful to you, not unless you've got an allergy to roses, and I can't think many people will have. Okay. Deodorant. Where's Daniel's deodorant? Okay, so this is a very old one, and this was an organic one. So this was about £6-7, something like that in this country. What's that? About $10, something like that, just under. So how do I make the organic deodorant? Well, you can buy it, and you can make it yourself quite cheaply. You need to buy a big tub of aloe vera gel. Because I learned that cutting out all these nasties, whatever, was just another 2%. It was going to help me, as well as working with the psychology and everything else. So you get fill that up to about. You need to buy one of these originally. I don't know if you can just buy I don't know if eBay just sells something like this that will be a sort of an empty roller, or just buy one which is about, as I say, £7. But then you can make it cheaper, probably for about, I don't know, £2, something like that, maybe. I can't remember how much that was, but I remember going, right, I'm going to make this myself. So I looked at the ingredients. It was just aloe vera gel. Still plenty in there, you can see. It's completely clear. That's just aloe vera gel. I mean, literally, you can eat this stuff. Okay, it's not fantastic, but you can buy aloe vera gel capsules. Okay. I dated a girl who recovered from a terminal diagnosis of cancer twice in her life. She had leukemia aged 11, and then she developed, oh my God, tumours absolutely everywhere throughout the entire body. Brain tumours, she had cancer, she had ovarian cancer, she had shadows on her lung. Her name's Fiona Shakila Burns. We dated very briefly and we've become friends. Don't see her that much, but it was 10 years ago when I first met her. And she said, because I was on my health quest, and I met her at an EFT seminar all the way back in summer 2008. And she said she was glowing, and she was like, oh yeah, I was diagnosed with terminal cancer like 11 months ago. Really? And one of the things she said was, never put anything on your body that you're not prepared to eat. Always remember that. So could you eat your deodorant? Yeah, you could, within reason. So I've just put a bit of aloe vera gel in there. Could I drink some of that? Well, not really, but breathing that in, it's going to be fine. It's not going to do anything to you. So you put that in there, and then put some tea tree oil. Maybe I'd probably put in about 15 drops. Maybe that might be too much for you, but do a test, see how you respond with it. But it's an antiseptic and antibacterial. I also put some orange in there as well, some orange drops. I love the smell of this orange. Oh, heaven. Absolutely amazing. So I love that. So let's work across. So that's my deodorant. I also use that when I'm shaving. I put it on my face. After I've shaved, it stings a bit because it's got the tea tree oil in it. I'll use it if I've been in the sun. I'll just put that on my face after. So you can use it for lots of things. You can put it on at night as well if you wished. Coconut oil. If you're a lady, my ex-girlfriend, Polish ex, was putting on coconut oil at night, and she smelled like a Bounty going to bed. That's a chocolate bar in this country, a coconut chocolate bar. Quite delicious. But you can use all these health products and things. So, it's another way of just cutting out all the moisturizers and all that stuff. Okay, so I've gone and found this in my cupboard, and that is organic cold-pressed coconut oil, virgin, 100% raw, made by Coco Loco, and that is an Aldi. That's about £2.50. And there's a massive amount of that. And again, can you eat it? Absolutely. You could even make a dessert out of that. I've sometimes had rice, and I've put a little bit of that in a little bit of honey to make coconut rice. Beautiful. You can do lots of things with that. You could use that as a substitute also for a deodorant and for a cream for your face or something. Let's work across the board. Cider vinegar, apple cider vinegar. This stuff is absolutely amazing. You can clean with this stuff. You can use it to gargle with. It's alkaline. What do I do with that? I wash my hair. So that's my shampoo. No, it's not. I'm lying. This is my conditioner. That's the conditioner. And which one is it? That. No, it's this one. I know what that is. That is the conditioner. So put about a fifth of this in. Again, this was for Aldi. Put about a fifth in there. Fill the rest up with water. Give it a shake. Conditioner. Put it in your hair. Wait 15 seconds, half a minute, maybe a bit longer if you like, and rinse it out. And your hair will have a nice shine to it. It will give body to it. The shampoo is bicarbonate of soda, and that is my shampoo. And again, probably put about, maybe put about, what's the bottle? 1/10, maybe a 1/12 compared to what the bottle is. So you put it about maybe a centimetre at the bottom of that, and then fill it up. You'll work it out along the way. You know, this is cheap. This is about 69p, something like that. And I'll probably put about half of that in there. And so that's that. To the gym, this is my wash and go. No, this is my wash and go because it's slightly different colour. So this has got bicarbonate of soda and apple cider vinegar together. So that is conditioner and shampoo together. And literally, I made that today because I've been to the gym earlier, and it was running out. When you're making this, be really careful, because it will make a chemical reaction when you put the apple cider vinegar in and the bicarbonate of soda. It will fizz up. So be really, really careful when you're making it. I make it in a big bowl because initially, when you put the two in together, it will spill over. So that's a 5 litre jug. And I make it in a different kind of 5 litre jug, so I put about that much water in the bottom. Then I put I put in glug 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 of apple cider vinegar in, and then probably put in about probably about a third of that in there as well. And then you stir it up, and it will fizz up. Stir it round, and then get it to the top. And that's what you get. It's a slightly different colour. Looks a bit like urine, I suppose. Your slightly different colour. That's just the apple cider vinegar. That's the bicarbonate of soda. That's the mixed one. Okay, let's work further along. What else have we got here? Hair product. Okay, so you want your hair to stand up and to sort of stick a little bit. That is a mixture of Manuka honey, tiny little bit of Manuka honey, which I put in probably about a tablespoon of Manuka honey with hot water. So then it changes its consistency, like as if you're going to put it in a tea and you can't see the honey anymore. And then I put in probably about 2 tablespoons of rock salt. You can put any salt in. I've got Himalayan pink salt as well. And I spray that all on my hair, and then put a hairdryer on, and that gives it sort of its ability just to stay up and a bit of consistency, and you can mould it and do something with it. But that's my hairspray. It gives it a little bit more body. But again, could I drink that? Where's that one? This one. Yeah. Drink your hairspray. Salty and sweet. It's okay, actually. Right, what else have we got here? Okay, we're moving on to supplements and things. I've got 2 receipts I need to do for clients there, business clients. This is something else when I'm working with business people. I they put the cost of the sessions against their business. We put it down as business mentoring training. I should say, before I get onto supplements, then I did see this one. This is a soap that's purely made from plants, and it's called Ecova. There's a version of this that is laundry as well as conditioner, and this one is washing up liquid. Now I will use this in the shower, and I use this to wash my hands and everything. I haven't reacted to this. I can't promise you that you won't react to it, but it is made with plants. You could use it for cleaning lots of things, and it's just, I think it's good on the environment, biodegradable, and see how you get on with it. There are loads of other things on the market. There are stacks of stuff, and I just don't react to that. And so this chamomile and clementine washing up liquid, tough on grease, plant-based and mineral ingredients, safe for sensitive skin. I still use this to this day. When I've been on holiday, and I've been in one of the really nice hotels that I've been to in recent times, and I haven't been able to take all of this stuff, so I will go and have their products, and I don't react anymore. But I also don't wish to overload my body with toxicity if I can help it. So this is just for me about living healthily and being kind to the environment. And hey, I did it to get better, so why not just do it to keep being better and keep my health. All right, supplements. 5-HTP. 5-HTP can relax you. You can take some of that before bed. GABA. You can take that in order to be able to help you sleep. 5-HTP during the day can lessen anxiety, control mood, and see how you get on with that. There's also something that since quitting window cleaning and doing this job, I put on quite a bit of weight because there was a lot of sitting, and it was a different kind of stress than the physical stresses that I was doing when I was doing my window cleaning. So I started taking something called Relora, which was an appetite, stress and appetite control, relaxing but non-sedating, supports healthy cortisol levels. And I just started taking 2 of those about 3 times a day, and it did give me, sort of took the edge off. There is stress in every job that you do. One thing is when you've recovered, you're going to have to go back in, more than likely, not everybody, but you'll go back in and go and work. And what work am I going to go and do? And I'd say, you do something that's in your heart that you really love doing, because it will help you move beyond the challenges. As I've said, I absolutely love coaching, and I'm just going to continue to grow in it. And I can just see myself growing and growing and growing. And I think the realization is, if I came from the level of impossibility when I was so ill and there was no way you could recover, and I've got back into life and in normality, you then become really courageous of like, wow, well, if I was able to do that and get to here, then I could get from here to even another so-called impossibility. I could go to the next stage. So it becomes very, very addictive and fascinating and very exciting. Appeals quite a bit to my 7 wing, my lesser used 7 wing, which is an adventurous. But surrendering to the holy plan, in the fact that this is on my path, this is what I'm meant to do. You'd have to be a bit of a nutcase to do this job, because I didn't break even for about 4 years, and it cost me thousands and thousands of pounds. But I was totally committed to doing this, and as I said, I worked pretty hard to the point that I was in exhaustion a lot of the time, physical pain, didn't earn a lot of money, but I still saved, and I was put away about 1/3 of my savings. So I'm incredibly proud of where I've come and where I've got to, and it's been as a result of absolute hardship. And I totally and utterly value money because it's been so hard to earn throughout my life. Okay, so let's move further along. Chlorella and Spirulina, again, this is something I take 6 of those. It's good for so many different things. It eliminates toxins from your body, all the nasties kind of bind to it, and they'll disappear away. The girl that I once dated, who had recovered from 2 terminal diagnoses of cancer in her life, used to do something like 15 or 16 green smoothies a day, green drinks, and so that's nowhere near what she's doing, but or what she was doing. But green stuff is really good. Vitamin B complex there, that's the Solgar one. Magnesium citrate, that can help you just relax your muscles. It's something that I took a while ago, and I noticed that I was a little bit improved. It wasn't massive, but it was a little bit improved. When you're running a lot of stress, you're certainly going to delete. You're going to delete the magnesium and the potassium. I haven't got the potassium down here, but that's another one that I've taken. And another one is, just caught that, nearly fell off, coenzyme Q10. That's not the highest dose. And there are days when I don't take this stuff at all, and I don't really feel that much different. So is it partly psychosomatic? Partly, maybe, but you could also say that some of this is in your system already, and it will help you. But the biggest thing is, working on your psychology. It's, like I've said, it's 80%. So let's go back to this. What works, what doesn't work? You can spend a fortune on loads of stuff, all the supplements. You could be doing all different types of cleanses. You could be doing all different types of things that are non-psychologically related. And you might actually do quite well, who knows? But in my experience, and this is with all serious disease, you've got to be addressing the psychological and the emotional. The psychological from the point of, I use something called the Enneagram, and you have to use that in an in-depth way rather than just going and finding out what your type is. Wherever you are, you're going to be in the unhealthy range if you've got a serious disease. We need to get you to at least in the average range. So let's just look in, we're on Enneagram type 5 here. So you work out what your type is, and then you find out where you are in the level of health. There you go, this is unhealthy. What an unhealthy mindset equals an unhealthy body. We get up, we need to be crossing the threshold from unhealthy to average. And then once you get here, I get into this healthy range all of the time. There was also, I've got a protocol with actually using this book and how I help people with the Enneagram with clients. But it's very, very complicated really to understand something like this to begin with, but it's part of mastering psychology. If you look at my banner on my YouTube videos and on my website, there's two things that I say all through mastering psychology, and the other part is mastering emotional well-being. If you're doing the two hand in hand and having coaching and mentoring and therapy along the way, which is what I do and help people with, you will recover, you will get better. There's no guarantee that it's going to work in a 5-session package. But over a course of perhaps 20, 30, 40 sessions, which, yes, is a cost to you, but you will begin to master much more of your psychology, which will and your emotional well-being, which will lead to much more peace in you. And if you've got more peace within you, a dis-ease really struggles to live in a mind of ease, because the whole thing is one. And along with various protocols like yoga, Tai Chi and meditation, which is what I did for years, Tai Chi walking distances, building up also. There's something when you're really ill and you don't feel like doing any exercise. Well, if you were really well and you had to sit down and did nothing for a few days, you'd get sort of poorly symptoms. We're meant to be on the move. We're meant to be doing things. If you looked at that Stanitas Moraitis, who went back to die in Icaria, he did go back to die, but he was also, he was working and doing things. So he didn't do anything for 6 months. Kind of sat around in the sun. But he would have had to walk places, and it's very undulating. And they've got the lowest level of cardiovascular disease over there. And the hearts, they like looking at hearts of 80-year-olds, and they're as well as 60-year-olds back in other parts of the world. So, he went to go on, he was 55 and really chronically ill when he started to look at say recovering, but at least living a better life. And he lived another 50 years. In fact, he outlived his doctor, and he went to go back and try and find his doctor when he was in his 80s and 90s, and his doctor was dead. So in America, I just found the whole thing absolutely fascinating. So if you can do exercise, a little bit of graded exercise where you're doing something, you're going to feel better by doing something, but you're also going to start developing more of a well body, because a well body is doing things. It's on the move. We're not built to sit. one of the things that I put on weight was I was doing far too much sitting, and compared to cleaning windows, which is going up and down ladders and then a lot of meditation and being, but then walking again and cleaning windows, it's a very active job, and realised that it was actually really good for me to be active. In another video you might have seen me talk where I said I visited I went to see a Professor Worsley, who was the spiritual teacher, Gangaji's teacher, who she was learning acupuncture. She's an Enneagram type 4, highly evolved one, and now spiritual teacher, much on the same vein as Muji, and I think Muji's an Enneagram type 9. Professor Worsley was her mentor, and I saw Professor Worsley all the way back 21 years ago. I paid him £125 for 10 minutes of his time. And one of the things was I was really sick with ME, and he was, because I was having acupuncture, and it was the guy I was having acupuncture from was a man called Dr. Martin Albright. He was originally a GP, and he gave up being a GP in order to be able to become an acupuncturist, and he went completely the holistic way. And his mentor was Professor Worsley, and Professor Worsley came in his Rolls Royce because I wasn't really getting so much better with Dr. Martin Albright, and pretty much he just said, you know, you're more of a stressed individual, so you need to be looking after your stress levels. And Dr. Martin Albright had already got me into meditation, and he brought me. He put me on the path to NLP, because the first book I bought was a kind of like an NLP book about mastering your mind. And Professor Worsley said, yes, do all of that and drink water and walk. And I'm like, are you kidding me? £125, and this was like, I didn't have a lot of money back then. I was on benefits, so I felt like my older girlfriend's pet. She was 10 years older than me, and I used to live in a flat in Cheltenham, and I felt like an expensive pet because I couldn't work. I mean, one Christmas I ripped up all the Christmas cards because I couldn't even get to the post box. My anxiety was so bad. I was struggling in all different kind of areas throughout my 20s. I wouldn't wish to live my 20s or 30s, even my teens. The best years of my life are coming into being now, and I totally believe that the best years of my life are ahead of me. I think what I served effectively through that very dysfunctional childhood and the experiences and everything that I went through was really an apprenticeship of the soul. That everything was there really to make me the individual that I am now. There's no way I would be who I am today, who I'm really proud of in a non-egoic way, and I love myself, not in a kind of really big, hey, look at me, aren't I fabulous? If you don't love me, that's your problem. If you don't like me, that's your problem. I like me and I love me, and I've made me my priority. I didn't get that love and that security when I was younger. I've had to give it to myself. Paradoxically, through giving it to myself, I've been able to give it back to my mum, and I've been able to give it back to other people in my life, and have great compassion for other members of the family and clients and other people and partners and everybody in life really. It's when you've recovered, it's I have days when I literally burst out in tears and cry because I long to feel so well, and you know what it's like if you've got the illness. You can't put it into words how desperate you feel, because there's no simple solution. So now I've done everything, and it's I'm now coming up nearly 44, and it's been hell. I've been through hell, but there was a saying, and I believe it was Winston Churchill, who said, if you're going through hell, keep going. All I can tell you is that you keep doing all these things, you keep up with the protocols, you keep a vision of being well, you talk about your health, and you just keep doing those things over and over again, and I promise you, your life will get better. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it is health or wealth or love or whatever. There's nothing that can prevent you from experiencing what it is that you would love to experience in life, what you truly wish. Come from your heart with this recovery, not your head. Go into what it is that you wish, what you truly wish to experience. And I know that you're going to wish health. I used to stand on a step ladder with one foot. I had my a noose around my neck with one foot on the stepladder that wasn't going anywhere because it wanted to live, but the other foot wanted to just leave this planet because I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I would kick the stepladder as hard as I could, but the other one was just resolute and not going anywhere. And thankfully, I didn't die. You know, I took an overdose at 30. I did that with nooses and things on stepladders. I also went into fields and tied up hose pipes to the back of the car, sat in breathing fumes for like 30 seconds. I have some people who tell me, you just weren't ill, you didn't experience that. You know, I went to rock bottom to the point that you can't go any further. And that's where I just get extraordinarily humble at being alive, and particularly when I'm doing this job and I'm able to help people, because I've done the impossible, and not everybody can understand that. Not everybody really realises that, but you can. But society and life will tell you that you can't, but you can. And you just need to be flexible in your approach to get your outcome. And be as flexible as possible, because you really, really can do it. The humility that I experience, I can't put into words, because there are days when I just think I'm so grateful that I'm still alive. And how lucky I was that the fact that, you know, I didn't slip on that ladder and hang myself, and, you know, my sister would have found me just hanging there. Or it's not that I just survived all those suicide attempts, which were really only part suicide attempts, but they weren't cause for help. They were me wrestling with my soul, going, I don't want this effing life. I don't want to be ill a second longer. I cannot abide having energy as a child and then coming into life in this and losing everything, and then having to witness everybody just getting ahead of you, and you feel so desperate and alone and lost, and it really is awful, but equally it was the best experience that I've ever had, because it's gifted me so. I'm so touched by life. I feel life so deeply, more than other people around me who've never had that depth. Because once you go rock bottom, there ain't no place lower you can go. So the only way is up. The only way is up. And you can, and you will, and just be committed. One of the simple things that I'm going to give you today is write your recovery story. It will sound ridiculous and unbelievable, and you know, and when you've written that recovery story, daily remind yourself of your recovery story. Keep taking your mind into it. Now, it might take you 5 years of looking at that every day, but you'll shift nearer towards that outcome each and every day. It's the same with anything. The wealth in your life, love in your life, anything else, the resolution with your family, if there's a conflict or something, just, you know, as I say on my phone, design the life as you would love to live. Be conscious of doing that, and you can do it. So on that note, this is quite a long one today. I will bid you farewell, and I'm not sure when my next one will be. Please like and comment on these videos. It helps me massively to reach out to more people. Subscribe. Also, when you subscribe on my homepage on my YouTube channel, click the little bell, which will be the notifications, and it will let you know when a new video which I've done comes up, and then you will see that in the new videos, basically, when you link into YouTube next time. It all massively helps me. And also, you might have questions about chronic fatigue syndrome, any serious disease. You might have MS, you might have cancer, you might have Parkinson's, you might have another illness. You're welcome to comment on these videos as well, because, you know, I will do my best to address what the questions are in future videos. And bear in mind that this is number 4, so I've got another 6 hours to go after this, and I probably will be doing these videos for another year or so, because it's not for me just to get them all out there. You know, there's going to be other things that are going to crop up. And the sessions that I do with clients, sometimes there are questions that are quite familiar, which I recognise, and then I'll make notes of those and then address those questions to help other people in the future. Because I know not everybody can necessarily afford sessions, but then you have to look at the cost of what it is to continue to have the illness. Okay, with that, I wish you all the very best, and thanks for watching, and thanks for your support.